Most men past 50 walk through life believing they have become completely invisible to the opposite sex. You might look in the mirror and assume your best years are behind you, or that younger and even same-age women are simply no longer looking your way. But the reality on the ground is completely different. Mature women are often looking for stability, depth, and a real connection more than ever before. The problem isn't that you are invisible. The real problem is that you are looking for the wrong signals. When a woman in her mature years feels a spark of attraction toward a man, she almost never walks up and spells it out clearly. She doesn't drop direct hints or make bold confessions about what she wants. Instead, she operates with a quiet, careful strategy. She tests your awareness without you even realizing a test is taking place. She wants to see if you possess genuine emotional presence, calmness, and the ability to read between the lines. Think about how feminine psychology actually works at this stage of life. A mature woman has lived through enough experiences to value her peace and protect her heart. She refuses to appear overly eager, desperate, or needy because she values her dignity too much to risk blatant rejection. So instead of throwing her cards on the table, she hides her growing attraction inside ordinary, everyday questions. She wraps her desire in casual conversation to keep herself safe while she figures out who you really are. This puts the responsibility entirely on your shoulders as a man. If you are moving through life on autopilot, treating every conversation at face value, you will miss these golden opportunities entirely. You will hear a simple question about your weekend or your habits, answer it like a robot, and completely shut down a door she left open for you. Worse still, you need to understand a fundamental rule of female psychology. A woman almost never presents the same emotional invitation twice. When she opens that door just a fraction of an inch and you fail to notice, she takes it as a sign. She assumes you either lack the awareness to see her or the depth to match her energy. Once that door closes, she retreats back into her world, and she will rarely give you a second chance to get it right. Understanding this changes everything. It shifts you from feeling invisible and left behind to becoming a grounded, perceptive man who knows exactly how to read the silent language of attraction. To truly master how mature women communicate, you have to understand the deep underlying psychology of why they hide their intentions in the first place. Men often get frustrated and wonder why a woman cannot just speak plainly. If she likes you, why not just say so? Why wrap her interest in riddles, casual remarks, or guarded questions? The answer comes down to one powerful emotion that governs almost every interaction: the instinct to protect herself from rejection. Even as women mature and gain life experience, the fear of looking foolish, desperate, or overly eager never truly disappears. In fact, mature women protect their dignity even more fiercely. A woman who has lived a full life knows the sting of being vulnerable with the wrong person. She hates the thought of coming across as needy or throwing herself at a man. She refuses to put her heart completely on the line for a man who might brush her off or misinterpret her openness. To her, walking up and making a direct, bold move feels terrifyingly exposed. It feels like standing naked in the wind with no shelter. This is precisely why she chooses a much safer, more indirect route. Instead of confessing her attraction out loud, she takes that exact same interest and wraps it tightly inside a harmless-sounding question. She hides her true motive right out in the open, disguised as everyday small talk. To a man who isn't paying attention, her words sound completely innocent, routine, and completely devoid of any romantic weight. She uses these careful inquiries the exact same way a man uses direct actions. When a man feels drawn to a woman, he doesn't usually give a speech about his feelings. He offers to help fix something, steps in to support her, or guides her through a problem. Women do the exact opposite. When a woman is drawn to a man, she uses questions as her tools to test the waters and see if the water is safe before she steps in. This brings us to the biggest trap that catches most men off guard. When she throws out one of these carefully veiled feelers, she expects you to hear the music behind the lyrics. But if you lack awareness, you fall straight into the literal trap. You take her words at face value, you answer her question like you are filling out a questionnaire at the DMV or talking to a casual acquaintance. By giving a dry, literal, matter-of-fact response, you completely shatter the subtle mood she worked so hard to create. When you answer too literally, you fail the test of presence. You accidentally kick away the emotional bridge she built between your world and hers. She was reaching out a hand, hoping you would grab it with confidence and wit, but your literal answer tells her you are asleep at the wheel. You miss the subtext entirely. And once that bridge is burned by a dull, literal response, she immediately pulls back into her shell, taking her interest with her, leaving you wondering why a promising conversation suddenly went cold. Question 1. Do you spend a lot of time alone? When a mature woman looks at a man who has lived a full life, she knows one thing for certain. He has built habits, routines, and a comfortable lifestyle over many decades. He has his own space, his own schedule, and his own way of doing things. Because of this, when she starts feeling a genuine spark of attraction toward you, a very specific and nervous question pops into her head. She wonders if your life is already completely full, locked down, and tightly sealed off from the rest of the world. She needs to know if there is actually a physical and emotional seat open for her at your table, or if you are a confirmed bachelor who is so set in his ways that no one else could ever possibly fit in. This is precisely why she casually drops her very first major test on you by asking something that sounds completely innocent on the surface, such as, "Do you spend a lot of time alone?" Or she might phrase it slightly differently, asking if you usually go out by yourself, if you tend to keep to yourself on the weekends, or what you have been up to lately in your downtime. To an untrained man who is just cruising through the conversation on autopilot, this sounds like boring, everyday small talk. It feels like she is just making polite conversation to pass the time while waiting in a line or sitting across from you at a table. You might be tempted to treat it like a simple survey question, thinking she is just curious about your daily routine. But you have to realize the hidden truth behind her words. This question is never actually about your schedule, and it is certainly never about loneliness. A woman who feels nothing for you simply does not care how you spend your Tuesday nights or whether your weekends are quiet. She only asks this because she has already pictured herself in your space. She is secretly trying to figure out whether you are a warm, welcoming man or someone who is emotionally closed off and heavily guarded. She wants to test your availability and see if closeness with you is truly possible without her having to force her way into your life or feel like an unwanted intruder. This is where almost every unsuspecting man falls straight into the trap. If you take her question entirely at face value and respond with a flat, robotic answer like, "Yes, I spend a lot of time alone," or "No, not really," or a dry, defensive, "It depends," you completely kill the vibe. You slam the door right in her face. Your literal answer tells her that you are either a ghost who lives behind closed curtains or that you lack the social awareness to read the room. In her mind, she translates that flat response as a clear signal that you have no room for anyone else, and she will instantly pull back to protect her dignity. To pass this test with absolute flying colors, you need to respond like a grounded, centered man who is entirely comfortable in his own skin. You want to stay completely calm, relaxed, and balanced. Instead of shutting her down with a dead-end answer, you want to show her two things at the exact same time. That you value your peace and independence, but that you are warmly receptive to the right person. When she asks if you spend a lot of time alone, look her in the eye with a relaxed smile and say something like, "I enjoy my space and my routines, but I'm always open to good company." Or, "I like my own company, but I'm open to someone who adds something meaningful to my life." Notice what this brilliant response does to her psychology. First, it proves that you are a strong, secure man who doesn't desperately need anyone to complete him. You are perfectly happy by yourself. Second, it gently hints that she might just be special enough, interesting enough, and valuable enough to let past your guard. This strikes the ultimate balance. It shows you are open without being desperate and strong without being cold. When you give her that kind of confident, smooth answer, a wave of emotional safety washes over her. She feels warmth, possibility, and excitement. And that exact feeling naturally paves the way for her to test you with her second and most revealing question. Question 2. What are you looking for these days? Once you have successfully navigated her first test and proved that your world has emotional space for the right person, a mature woman feels a deep sense of relief and safety. That opening warmth naturally leads her to drop her second, much deeper and far more revealing question. She might phrase it in a few different ways to see how you respond. What are you looking for these days? Or what do you want in your life right now? Or what kind of direction are you moving in lately? On the surface, it might sound like casual interview chatter, but make no mistake, this question is never casual, and it is definitely not small talk. It is a mature woman actively and carefully exploring you as a serious romantic option. If she felt zero attraction toward you, she would never take the risk of asking something so personal, so exposed, and so intimate. She would keep things strictly surface level and polite. The fact that she is pressing into this territory means she is trying to gauge your core. She wants to understand your inner direction and your masculine steadiness. For a woman to open up her heart, her time, and her vulnerability to a man, especially a mature man, who has decades of life history behind him, she needs to feel one absolute necessity. She needs to sense deep down that you actually know who you are and what you want out of life. She is secretly asking herself crucial questions as she waits for your reply. Is this man's life headed somewhere meaningful, or is he just wandering aimlessly? Is he stuck in old emotional baggage, or is he moving forward with power and purpose? Does he have a solid anchor, or is he just floating through his days like a leaf in the wind? Women are biologically and psychologically wired to seek safety in a man's steadiness. They do not open up to men who drift. They open up to men who anchor themselves, who carry quiet strength, and who know how to lead with intention. This is the exact moment where so many well-meaning men completely blow the interaction by giving a lazy, careless answer. The biggest mistake you can make here is falling back on autopilot and saying something like, "Oh, I'm just taking each day as it comes," or "I'm not really looking for anything, just seeing what happens," or "I just want peace and quiet." When a mature woman hears a man say things like that, she translates it through the lens of her own dating fears. She hears a man who is drifting, a man who lacks purpose, or a man who is emotionally checked out. And no matter how attractive you might be physically, she will instantly close her heart to a drifter because she refuses to invest her precious time in someone going nowhere. To pass this final test with absolute confidence, you have to throw out the passive phrases and show her undeniable momentum, clarity, and direction. You do not need to give her a massive life story or lay out a 10-year corporate plan. You just need to show her that your life has a steady pulse and a clear heading. You want to give an answer that communicates strength without sounding arrogant or overly rehearsed. When she asks what you are looking for, look right into her eyes with a relaxed, grounded expression and say something clean and powerful, like, "I'm building a simpler, stronger chapter with the right people," or "I'm focusing on living with true intention, great experiences, and meaningful connections." Let's look at why this specific type of response is an absolute masterclass in attraction. First, it instantly proves to her that you are moving forward in life, not stuck in the past. Second, it shows crystal clear emotional clarity. You know who you are, what you value, and where you are going. Third, and most importantly, It creates a wide open, beautiful space in her mind where she can actually picture herself walking right alongside you. It gives her the green light to feel safe, excited, and deeply drawn to your masculine strength, turning a simple conversation into an unforgettable moment of real connection.